have been patient and respecting you. You know why? Because you're just an arrogant student with no knowledge, with no life experience, advocating on a very dangerous cause, being a useful idiot in the hands of terrorists, creating trouble, putting encampment, breaking the law, advocating on behalf of a terrorist organization designated by the American law as a terrorist organization, makes you a terrorist.
Time for another clip of the one and only Mosab Hassan Yousef, also known as the Green Prince, the son of Hamas, the man who grew up in the movement, whose father was a senior member, but ended up turning against them and helping the Israeli intelligence forces to thwart deadly suicide bombings against Israeli civilians during the Second Intifada. That was over 20 years ago. Since then, he's been an outspoken critic of the Palestinian movement, the radical fundamentalist Islam, which is part of that movement, and a great defender of Israel. And it's always a spectacle to see ignorant idiots try to tell Mosab Hassan Yousef what the motivations of Hamas and the Palestinians are when he actually lived that reality from the inside. Let's see him take apart these imbeciles in this clip.
I came here tonight with a fucking taser because you think you're protesting peacefully?
So you can call me TikTok watcher, you can call me Gen Z, you can call me arrogant. What you can't do is respond to the facts.
What facts? The fact that I was born there and you weren't? The fact that you have a second-hand knowledge?
No, the fact that
the fact that you think saving human life is treason?
They planned to move on and kill as much as they could. In Be'er Sheva, in Tel Aviv, in Haifa, they wanted to slaughter everybody. You know what? Maybe you will not believe me. I can present you my videos that I took there.
The son of one of the founders of Hamas debates a pro-Palestinian activist from UCLA. Watch as he gets completely destroyed.
Name 3 books as source of your information.
Yeah, sure. The Nation Forum by Rashida Khalidi.
Who is that? I never heard of this woman.
He was actually he was part of the peace process in the 90s.
Okay.
But you don't know about him. That's fine. I still respect your opinion. It doesn't mean that you're wrong just because you don't know a single author, okay? That's fine.
All the books that you read looks like going only in one direction, to delegitimize Israel.
Do you know who Benny Morris is?
I don't need to know. I think you're just making up stuff.
Or the making of the Israeli nation.
And I think
making of the Israeli nation. Do you know that book, or are you just uneducated?
Look,
what's the answer?
Listen. What did I tell you from the beginning of this conversation? I don't need to read books to know my.
Oh, you don't need to read books, but
I don't need. I write the books. I live the experience. I am the author.
All the credibility you gained.
I am not a second-hand knowledge.
All of the credibility that you gained by living in Palestine was taken away from you when Israel put you on their paycheck.
Now, to people like us who really know what the Quran teaches, it's just crazy to even imagine this is even happening. But now we're going to see Mosab really hit the nail on the head.
First of all, if you want to take personal aim, I can take you on a rabbit hole that you will never get out of it.
Sure. Go ahead.
I have been patient and respecting you. You know why? Because you're just an arrogant student with no knowledge, with no life experience, advocating on a very dangerous cause, being a useful idiot in the hands of terrorists, creating trouble, putting encampment, breaking the law, advocating on behalf of a terrorist organization designated by the American law as a terrorist organization, makes you a terrorist. So if you want to talk about personal things, you challenge me for doing a legitimate work for a democracy to save human lives, and you want to reduce my effort to say that I got paid 10 years fighting and chasing after terrorists who blow up, killed Americans, Israelis, Arabs, Muslims, all type of people indiscriminately. Do you think you can sit here and judge me? And you don't have the authority to sit there and judge, tell me I took money or I did not take money. This is not your business.
No, you did take money. That's a fact, and that's fine.
This is not your business.
You took money from Israel, and that's okay. You're a propagandist for Israel. That's just a fact, and it's the reality of the situation.
If you know anything about Mosab, you know that he had a really hard life. And to wave that all away by calling him a propagandist is crazy. It just goes to show the shameless denial these people are in.
No matter what I say, he's going to say, you are paid. You're on a payroll. You're advocating on behalf of the Zionists. And he will continue to be in his denial for eternity. This is a phenomenon of useful idiots that they're advocating on behalf of a dangerous organization. They're bringing chaos, intifada to the United States of America because the government is not taking care of this business.
He has the literal son of the co-founder of Hamas telling him how they operate, what they do, and he still doesn't believe it. Really goes to show, at least for me, that this is a spiritual battle.
So you can call me TikTok watcher, you can call me Gen Z, you can call me arrogant. What you can't do is respond to the facts. That's
What
you can't
facts?
do.
Well, you know,
What facts?
To be fair, we need facts, and that's what I was kind of asking you about. So, yeah.
Well.
The fact that I was born there and you weren't? The fact that you have a second-hand knowledge?
No, the fact that
The fact
Israel...
that you think saving human life is treason?
No.
But now it's really gonna get bad for him, because a member of the audience, who was one of the hostages taken by Hamas, joins them on stage and tries to have a dialogue with him. But as you will see, he was really uncomfortable. He couldn't even look at her.
I guess I just would ask you the simple question of what do you want the world to know? What do you want Mr. Doyle to know?
I'm an artist. I served the army 22 years ago. I have all the signs on me. I had an Arabic necklace on me. I had the Indian Ganesh tattoo on me. I had Pharaoh on my fingers because I'm half Egyptian and half Moroccan, but I'm Jewish. Okay? And I have the letter I got on my hand. You know why? Because I believe in coexisting. Did you know that the vast majority of the hostages believes in coexisting? So I'm an artist. And on October 7th, I went to fulfill my dream. I went to make my dream come true. When October 7th happened, and that's a fact, they told me it in the inside. They didn't know about the Nova Festival music. They didn't know that we have 3,000 people in there. They planned, and they told me that, they planned to move on and kill as much as they could in Beersheba, in Tel Aviv, in Haifa. They wanted to slaughter everybody. You know what? Maybe you will not believe me. I can present you my videos that I took there. Do you know how many bodies were there? Do you know how much violence was taken on me? I was caught in the middle of a lynch. I was presented as a soldier because I chose to wear green army look-alike uniform that day. By mistake, I was categorized as a soldier, and I was treated as a soldier. When I was entering Gaza, and I told you before, I have Arab suppliers, I have Arab neighbors and Arab friends. When I was entering Gaza, and there is a video of that, I saw 100% of civilians celebrating me being taken. All I saw is 100% of civilians lynching me, beating me up. I was with a broken leg. I had bruises all over my body. Do you know that I've never cursed them? I've never argued with them, and I've never treated them like garbage. I respected them, even when they abused me.
You can see he has nothing to say to this, because he knows he can't defend those actions. But they go on to talk about how none of the real members of Hamas are willing to debate or talk about this openly.
Question.
But how can you have a discussion with none of the Hamas representatives sitting here now, and you will never sit here right now? How can you have both sides facts if only one side is volunteer to sit here at all time? Did you see any one of the Hamas comes to sit here?
I can't speak for the people who didn't want to speak. But what I can say is that the view of Hamas as a completely implacable force is not completely incorrect, because they see the Palestinian issue as a very religious issue, and going back on that issue is seen as going back on God. But like we saw with the PLO, over time, they become more of a political movement and less of a nationalist movement, like we'll see with Hamas. Like we've seen with the change from 1987 charter to 1917 charter, they change and they adapt and they grow over time, and it's changing from a staunchly religious movement. Obviously, it still is a very much religious movement, but the movement itself, especially with regard to Hamas, becomes more political and becomes more malleable. The idea is that in time, if we can get Israel and Hamas to both agree to a just solution, then it's ridiculous to say, well, oh, because Hamas is implacable now, then there won't be a solution.
So he refuses to answer the first question. Then he goes on to say that magically Hamas is going to be more reasonable over time if they can strike some kind of deal, which we all know is never going to happen. Surah 9:5 says, then kill the disbelievers wherever you find them, capture them and besiege them, and lie in wait for them in each and every ambush.
The problem is not only with Hamas. It looks like we have to please so many opposing forces. We try to please Hamas, then we have a problem with the Islamic Jihad. Then if we please Islamic Jihad, we have a problem with the public front. We please this, then we have to go to FIDA. Then we have to go to national. We have about 12 Palestinian factions, and all of them have different idea of what Palestine is and what can satisfy their political ambition. Then now we have Mr. Dillon, and we have a million like him in the United States that they became legitimate force in the conflict. So Israel will have to also bring them to the negotiating table and try to please their political ambition as well. So as you see, each one of them is basically a black hole that cannot be satisfied. And all of them have one thing in common, and that's not to build a Palestine, it's only to delegitimize Israel. That's the only thing they know how to do. Because if you ask him practically, how can he actually construct a model of Palestine if he's never been there? If he was actually a sincere person, he would take a flight and go to Gaza and feel the people and see their suffering firsthand. Or if it's too dangerous for him, I wouldn't blame him. Probably he would be very terrified to be in Gaza. It's too much. At least go to the West Bank. You can go to the city of Ramallah, live with the people for a couple of years, understand their culture. And when I say a couple of years, it's not enough. In order to know the mentality of the people, you have to spend with them a decade at least of daily experience to understand what they stand for before you start advocating on their behalf. You're just taking the side against Israel for killing Gaza children, ignoring the reality that Hamas is using them as civilians, as human shields. And I've been telling you this from day one, that you have been used by Hamas. They want you to cause chaos. They want the global chaos. They want to put pressure on the US government, on the Israeli government, and all other democracies. They want to bring the civilized world to its knees from those ugly images that we see from the war. But Israel did not initiate that war on October 7th. Hamas did. And our problem is not only with Hamas, it's with the Palestinian ideology that you just want to gift Hamas and other fanatics a Palestinian state, thinking that this is going to bring a solution. This is going to create a global chaos. These people are not looking for equal opportunity. They don't want to divide the land. If they wanted to divide the land, they would have accepted the partition back in 1948. But instead of declaring their independence, they declared war against the Jewish people. Then they remembered some 40 years later to declare their independence. This is Palestinians, or what so-called Palestinians. They have many, many fundamental problems. They don't have a legitimate leadership. You know, you tell me about the camp, and like you speak on behalf of all the encampment in the United States. You run only a camp here at UCLA. There are other encampments. You are not in charge of them, and they did not even elect you as a leadership. You don't have a moral compass. You don't have an objective out of this thing. You're just going in a revolution for the sake of revolution, intifada, and you don't have a resolution. Where are you getting? What's the next shore? So fundamentally, we have a problem with Palestine. Before we resolve this issue, we need the Palestinians to decide what they want. First of all,
you know what I really love about what Mosab is saying here, and it's very important, is that it's the Palestinians as a group, as a collective, who don't really have any positive vision for themselves of building a state, but only have the idea of destroying Israel and tearing it down and delegitimizing, or at least that's the major thing that they want. And I think Israel made a mistake throughout this war of constantly saying we're not fighting the Palestinians, we're fighting Hamas. Israel is fighting the Palestinians. The ideology of the Palestinians is the Jews can't have a state. All the land is ours, from the river to the sea. We're going to get it all back. That's the overwhelming ideology. And I know it's more comfortable to say, well, we're fighting Hamas because Hamas is like more visibly brutal and everything, and there's more international consensus for that. But in the long term, it harms Israel to make this argument. Like, the argument should be that the Palestinian national movement as a whole, at the moment, and hopefully will change in the future, has no intention of coexisting peacefully next to Israel. It's not just about Hamas, and Mosab knows it.
What's their constitution? What's their agenda? What's their leadership? And will they drop violence as a method? Will they accept Israel's right to exist? Then after that, we can have a dialogue and there can be a solution. But as long as they want to annihilate the state of Israel, kill their own children, sacrifice civilians only for your sympathy and the rest of the world's sympathy, then this cycle of violence will never end. So first of all, the forced narrative must end. Then the use of violence has to be dropped completely and unconditionally, targeting civilians indiscriminately. Then after that, there would be room for dialogue and negotiations.
And it's so crazy to me how these college students are defending literal terrorists, not knowing or completely ignoring the fact that these terrorists don't even agree with what they're saying, especially when it comes to things like women's rights and gays' rights.
My name is Renee, and I'm from Jordan, and I grew up there. Aiden, as a young man, I commend you for putting on a suit and coming out here tonight. I appreciate that from a professor, okay? But you also have to have enough humility to know that you don't know enough. And I'm telling you that as an Arab. So where would I rather live? Tel Aviv or Gaza? Who would I rather live amongst? Hamas, which is what you're advocating for. I also believe that it's words and your actions are incredibly dangerous. So you're not doing my people any good by these encampments. If anything, you're empowering Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, and the plethora that are kind of in breeding right now. So like I said, I appreciate, you putting on a suit and coming here and speaking for my people. My people don't want you speaking for them because you're not helping us. You're not. You can shake your head. You can shake your head. You can shake your head.
I don't claim to speak for the people of Jordan. I don't know what.
Well, Palestine, same thing. Listen, don't be rude, man.
They're not the same thing.
Okay,
actually.
It's not the same thing, but no, actually, here's
Kind of the same thing. That's how you let it slip there.
the thing. Here's one thing you don't know.
No,
Okay,
they're literally not.
hold on. Let her speak.
Before the British mandate, I could have been a Palestinian instead of a Jordanian or Egyptian. It's the same people. So don't act like you know my people better than myself or Yousef. So that's the arrogance. This is the arrogance and the problem that I have with the encampments. I came here tonight with a fucking taser because you think you're protesting peacefully? I'm going to be okay showing up here by myself because white, entitled, spoiled Americans want to get attention? That's what you're standing up for. You're making it worse for Arabs here and back home. So you're not doing any of us any help.
All these college students defending Hamas are, as he put it, useful idiots. Now Mosab gets asked what he thinks of the students that wear keffiyehs.
They will never be part of the reality of the Middle East. They will continue to be part of a virtual reality disconnected from the real world. And I guarantee you that this is not only his or their problems. In life, they are disconnected from reality. They are living in an alternative reality. And this is where they think they rule, by how many followers they have. But eventually, you know who decides the reality on the ground? The brave soldiers who are fighting the real fight in the face of the monsters. At the end of the day, okay, I agreed to come to this debate, but I didn't think that is going to be this ridiculous. Okay. But anyway, I choose to come to someone who's living in their own head, and they want to defy a 45-year of solid experience that has the power of gravity that can take a galaxy in if necessary. So he can go on thinking in his head, But at the end of the day, the powerful soldiers, those are my people. Those are the ones who are going to decide the day. And those are the ones who will write the history. And everyone else will read it.
Mosab Hassan Yousef, a powerful, powerful voice on these issues. And it's so true what he says about the dumb encampment people, like this Doyle guy, this Irish idiot, whatever he is, advocating for Hamas, saying Hamas is malleable and they're going to change and you can make deals with them. And, you know, what he says about them living in an alternative reality, it is so true. It is so true that when you're sitting in your room here, you can reach the conclusion that Hamas are moderate and that the Israelis are extreme, because it doesn't, you know, you don't actually live the effect of it. It's not on your doorstep. You don't have a jihadist on your doorstep firing rockets at you saying death to you, right? And I'm going to destroy you and annihilate you. So you live in the world where you can make these kind of moral, these weird moral judgments. But it's just, in the end of the day, it's about them. They want to be relevant. They want to be part of the revolution. They want to be part of the cause. It's a cause that gets a lot of followers and interaction. I mean, if you go and become this big activist for, you know, the massacre of Christians in Nigeria, it doesn't get you quite the same amount of traction as this, right? So this is the problem. It's all about them. You know, I always thought, for me, it was strange how Noam Chomsky was one of the most important intellectuals on American universities for about 5 decades, how his philosophy of all the jihad and Islamic fundamentalism that we've been seeing in the Middle East is the result of American interventions, right? There's nothing inbuilt that causes them to say Allahu Akbar and to massacre people. If they're doing it, they're upset with something that America did. It's a reaction, which is completely false and wrong. But why does this idea resonate so strongly with American students? Or the idea that Hamas is the outgrowth of something of, you know, the US funding Israel or something that Israel did. Because then they become the center of the story. It becomes about them. We, America, are doing these terrible things in the Middle East. We caused it. So we have to be moral and to stand up and to demand change. The issues that are going on over there on the other side of the world, all of a sudden it becomes about me. The American student at Berkeley, it's about me. It's about my government and what we're doing. Funding the genocide of Israel, supposedly, or something like that. That's why it's so powerful. If I made a whole video about the tribal, sectarian, religious, and ethnic conflicts going on in the Middle East, and how, you know, these divisions that exist in the Middle East are causing this tremendous amount of instability. But in that story, there really isn't like a good guy or a bad guy, and you have to study each country and look at all the gazillion different groups, and they're all fighting each other because they're different, and it's me versus you. If I'm a student in the US, like this idiot over here, why would I care about that? What does that have to do with me? How can I be moral, right? How can I jump in on the side of the good guy or the bad guy? Well, the answer is you can't really. You can't really jump in all of a sudden in Iraq and in Syria and in Libya and in this and like get to grips with all of it and be on the right side. There isn't really a right side in all those conflicts. It's everyone against everyone. I mean, sometimes some people are better than others and some sides are more victim, but it's like, it's kind of this terrific mess. So they need it to be a cause and they need to be on the right side of the cause. And that's why the narrative that Chomsky developed, which is now so popular and it's taken on by people like Dave Smith, Glenn Greenwald, is that it becomes about me, the American student. It's us, America. We caused it. We intervened in the Middle East and everything in a bad way, and now it's blowback from them. So if we stop supporting Israel and if we change our policy and if we do all these things differently, then they're going to become moderate and everything will work out. So all this complexity of this region, as Mosab said, you know, it takes 10 years living among them to really understand their mindset. All of that, instead of trying to unravel all of that insanity, instead it becomes about me in America. I'm on the right side morally. I am the activist, and I'm going to advocate for this. It's all in the end of the day. It's about these people who are self-centered. It's about them. They want to be these like moral saviors of these issues. They want to be at the center of attention. They want to be on the right side. And that's why they take on these positions. That's why these positions are so prominent in the discourse on college campuses, because then for a dumb college student who doesn't know anything, he can be on the right side It becomes about me. It becomes about my moral battle. And then all of a sudden, I am important in this struggle. That is a huge part of what is going on here. And then the people in Israel and supporters of Israel try to argue facts with these people when they don't understand. It's not about facts. It's about them. It's about what they feel. The conflict makes them feel something about themselves. It makes them feel important. And that has nothing to do with the facts of what's going on or the lived experience of someone like Mosab Hassan Yousef, who has to deal with this idiot and share a stage with him as if they are equals when they are not. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.